Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I got a wonderful book to review. That is a spoiler for the review. I did end up enjoying it. But I got The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. It is my first Robert Jackson Bennett book. I do have Foundry Side by him in my collection, but I haven't read it yet. I wasn't too interested in it. To be honest, I don't know why I picked it up. I think I just saw it at the bookstore one day. I liked the cover and I got it. I purchased the Tainted Cup because the story sounded very interesting to me. And I saw a lot of early reviews on Goodreads, and I thought, wow, this is getting some good reviews. And this is getting a lot of hype already. And I decided, let's go ahead and do it. I don't read a lot of mysteries, especially fantasy mysteries. So let's go ahead and do it and see what it's like. And I will go ahead and say again that it was a wonderful book to read. I really enjoyed this story. If you don't know anything about the Tainted Cup, it is, again, a fantasy mystery. Almost like Watson and Holmes, we have the detective and her assistant, and they are trying to solve a mystery of why a tree has erupted from a I don't want to say soldier. I don't remember his title exactly because they do have different titles in this book. But essentially, a soldier, a very high-ranking official, a tree has erupted from his body, and he was killed in a very gruesome way. So our two main characters are tasked with trying to figure out who killed him, why did they kill him, and really at the same time, how did they kill him? Because this type of death, while it is common for for a lot of deaths to be gruesome and gnarly in this book because of the world, this type of death is very rare. So first of all, with the Tainted Cup, I have a lot of positives and things that I enjoyed about this book. Not a lot of negatives for this one. So I'm going to talk a lot at the beginning. But immediately with this book, the biggest positive and biggest thing that I enjoyed definitely are two main characters, Dennis Cole, and I can never say her last name, but I'm going to say Anna Delabra. I don't listen to audio, so I don't know how the character names are pronounced, but both of them are wonderful characters. Anna is the detective, and Dinios is the assistant. Both of them are messes, is what I'll say. Anna is very gruff and rough around the edges. She has a very interesting quirk and personality. She likes to dull her senses, so the rest of her senses can be very adept at things. So for the majority of the novel, she is wearing a blindfold, not because she's blind or can't see that, but again because she wants to dull the rest of her senses. But she is an expert detective. Dinios Cole, he is her new assistant, and he is bumbling around and trying to figure things out as he's going on. And he is her eyes and ears because he goes to most of the scene and the scenes of the crimes, and he does most of the dirt investigation. I don't know how else to say it. He gets his hands dirty while Anna does all the brain work. But both of them, amazing characters. I really enjoyed both of them. They both moved the plot. I didn't feel like one of them was overpowering the other. So that was great to see as well. You never want this book, again, its success hinges on the fact that both of these characters have desires, and they have the ability to move the story forward. Neither one of them are waiting around too much. They both have pretty great personalities. Again, Anna is pretty strong and Danios is pretty reserved, but I think both of them are characterized pretty well. They are both fleshed out. So props to the characters. Robert Jackson Bennett did a pretty good job at that. Another thing that I really liked, I need to stop putting my hand in front of the mic in case that cuts off any of the sound, but another thing that I really liked was definitely the world itself. It feels very much lived in. This is a very, the tone was great, I felt. I don't know how to describe it. I could picture, in really the novel, the cover does a pretty good job. I could picture this world as being very green and not like the healthy green. But there are titans, giant leviathans walking around or trying to enter this kingdom. There are contagions everywhere, plants again erupting from people's chests and their bodies. It's very gruesome. In this world, it feels very disgusting. Definitely not beautiful. Very disgusting, but very real and very again lived in. I really liked it. The mood and the tone was perfect for this. It felt creepy, it felt horrifying, and it felt very suspenseful just from the world itself. Um, you could never relax. And I say that also because there were so many moments reading this book that because the world building was so fantastic in my eyes and the characters were so well done, at least the two main characters, that I could easily picture um, someone doing an adaptation of this on like HBO, and I could just clearly visualize certain scenes because it was just done so well with that, especially with the world again. This is a mystery, so another positive. I don't read a lot of mysteries, so I could be completely wrong with this, but you know what? It's my truth, so I'm gonna hang on that. But the ending felt very rewarding. It is a mystery. I don't want to talk about you know all those aspects because that's for you to figure out on your own. I'm not big into mysteries. I'm not big into trying to figure things out and oh gotcha. But it did feel like Robert Jackson Bennett gave enough information throughout the book where nothing was a huge surprise, and I don't say that in a negative way. Like obviously there were some twists. I'm like, oh wow, that's really interesting. That's pretty cool. But it felt like once you read it and you looked back at the clues that were put earlier in the book, you realized, oh wow, it makes sense. So it's all plausible in my mind. I do give Robert Jackson Bennett a lot. I'm going to say his name a lot. I like saying names with three names in them, but I give him a lot of credit with that as well. That was neatly done. It did feel like it was a nice package at the end. Neat, a bow, nice and tight on this mystery. I will also say I enjoyed most of the side characters. I can't. I'm really bad with names, especially with books that. Even though this is eventually going to be a series, it's the first book in a series. Side characters, I don't remember their names, but there's two really good ones. The possible main culprit. I'm not going to say whether or not she was the main culprit, but the possible one, very good. I liked her in the story. I am very interested to see where else she goes in the story. And Denios's, I don't want to say assistant, but the person who trains him and gets him ready for this investigation, he was a very strong character. But overall, a lot of positives, a lot of things that I really did enjoy from this novel. I do have some gripes with it. Mainly the first, I want to say 100 pages were, I was worried at first because I tell my students all the time when I'm teaching narrative and I'm teaching the plot diagram that sometimes authors really like to focus on the first part of the plot diagram, which is the exposition, right? And this book has a lot of exposition in terms of characters. There are a lot of names and a lot of places thrown at you at the very beginning, and that info dump can be a little nauseating is the polite way of saying it. Again, I've already forgotten some of the better characters' names, and it was a lot. I thought that was, in a way, kind of a weak part of the story. I didn't care about any of the names. I didn't care about any of the other locations until the end, because then you realize, oh, wait, the other locations do play a role in the reveal. And I did feel a little dumb with that. I'm like, oh, of course. But yeah, the beginning was maybe a little too much information, too many characters coming in and saying their one thing. You didn't need to name so many of those characters, but maybe you do for a mystery. Again, I'm not an expert when it comes to mystery. Another hang up, I did pause at this moment, and maybe a lot of other readers might as well. It did feel like a Gary Stu moment at one point. I'm not going to say what that point is, but Denios has a skill that is revealed, halfway through the novel, and he didn't even realize he had this skill. And that did, again, cause me to pause. And I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this. But there is an in-world explanation for that, which makes sense. But I am saying that it could be a hang-up for some people. It was, again, a moment for me to pause and question, like, I don't know if I agree with that kind of decision. But there are, I shouldn't have said Gary Stu because that means there's like no negatives to it. There are some negatives, and there are some things that keep Denio still in check. And I did think, there are some ways to improve that. My last hangup would also be, without spoiling too much, there is, again, the side characters, some of them who I thought should play a bigger role, aren't really that fleshed out, I'll be honest. Uh, they don't really make much of an impact except on the plot, um, which I know doesn't make sense in the review, but they don't really appear and they don't really interact as much as I would have liked, even though they play a huge role. And I never really liked that. I like to see my characters interact, but again, it does make sense. And that's probably me just nitpicking. So that's probably just a me thing. Probably not really a big fault with the book. But overall, not a lot of negatives. That's really all I have with this. If you like this book, I described it to one of my friends that it is like Sherlock Holmes or Knives Out plus Attack on Titan. Um, I really loved it. It was a great book. It is going to be a part of a series, and I am already excited to read whatever comes next because it did leave us on a nice little morsel that does get me hyped up for the remainder of the series. But I hope other people read it. It's a new release, so people have plenty of time to read it before the year is out. I expect to see this book on a lot of people's wrap-ups at the end of the year for maybe not book of the year, but maybe new release of the year. Very strong release, very strong opening for the series. But yeah, that's all I got. The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm going to give it an A+. I loved it. Yeah, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do whatever. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.